We are starting with a dramatic reading or a monologue. Then we will be doing the second play, which is more of a normal play. So, enjoy the show. Special thank you to all the parents who brought food, to Nikki Ackley and Melissa Shaw for doing our hair and makeup, Dr. Montaltano for helping with the lights and the sound. And if I forgot you, I'm really sorry.
So, what we decided to do is run a marathon in our house. Me, my mom, and my brother Tony are all runners. But Mom said she won't set foot outside until the daily hospitalization count is under 100 a day here in Baltimore. Dad says he's more of a sitter than a runner, but he'd be glad to man the water station. So the route we figured out is kitchen, dining room, up the stairs, my folks' bedroom, my room, Tony's room, our bathroom, spare bedroom, down the stairs, TV room, hallway, Dad's office, downstairs bathroom, hallway, and back to the kitchen. So you know, a marathon is 26.2 miles, and a mile is 5,280 feet. Once around the house, like I described, we estimate at 230 feet. So 23 times around the house would be about a mile. And the marathon would be, say, 600 times around the house. Dad's got the exact figures, I'm just estimating. So we did it on Tuesday. Grandpa wanted to see it, so he came and sat outside the big floor-to-ceiling windows in our living room. He brought a six-pack. We started at 9 a.m. We had numbers on everything. Dad had an old .38 pistol, so we went out to the front yard and fired it. Off we went. The three of us couldn't fit through a doorway at the same time, so there was some bumping and cursing in the beginning, and I knocked the base over. And we had to call time out while I cleaned it up and Mom yelled at me. Then the police showed up because of the gunshot. And when we explained it to them, they just fell down laughing. One of them, Officer Hernandez, came in and ran a few laps, and Dad says it was okay because he had a mask on. After about 3 hours, Dad sent out for pizza, and we ate while we ran. Now, we have a German Shepherd named Hero, and it turns out he took exception to the running and bit my brother in the butt, which caused some controversy. And then Dad decided to run for a while, but he stayed up late watching TV and ran right through the bay window. But he didn't even get a scratch. And then he sat out with Grandpa and had a cold one. Mom came in first around 3 o'clock, and me and Tony were neck and neck. But he pushed me over the sofa with about 20 laps to go. So I hid in the closet, and when he came by, I shut the door open, and when I whacked him, he fell down the stairs. So I beat him. It was pretty much a good time, but Hero took off through the bay window, and it took 2 hours of running to find him. The good part is the nice police called the TV station, and they sent a film crew out. So we ran a few laps with them, and we got on the television. And I set up a Zoom date with the weather guy. Grandpa and Dad got some plywood and boarded up the window, and Mom was cool with it because she came in first. All in all, I'd say it was the best day of staying home. And now, we're staying up and had an indoor golf championship. Grandpa knows on that one. Life goes on, right? Life goes on.
My Uncle Sean. Well, really his name is Jackson, but almost anything you say he says, don't tell me, show me. Anyway, he comes in the porch, but see, his general opinion is that a normal voice can't penetrate the screen. So he talks in a real loud voice, which irritates my mom, because she doesn't like our snoopy neighbors getting in our business. So she shushes him, and he gets irritable and shouts out, don't shush me. And he goes back in the house and won't come out. You know, normal family stuff. Anyway, he says I should work on, during the shutdown, is perfection. Uncle Shomi says the problem with the world is we don't strive for it. So we live in the second rank. He says humankind is too lazy to put in the time perfection demands. So we don't have much of it. She says the bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich is about the only thing the world has cheap. But I don't like crunchy food because it makes me feel like some glass got in my food. And the best way to start, he says, is with the fried eggs over easy. He says the first thing is to get the yolk part in the very center of the pan, with the white distributed evenly around it. Right there at the top, that is hard to achieve. Then you've got to get the white part firm without getting it burned, which I failed at the first 9 times. Then you've got to cook the whole thing without breaking the yolk. Good luck with that. Finally, you have to take it out, and the white part should be white, not burnt brown. And with the yolk runny and the white firm in the circle, not ragged. Last time Uncle Shomi came over, he brought me 24 eggs to practice with, which got my mom irritated again, because she says it's wasteful to play with food. Well, on egg number 21, I did it. Boy, I was excited. I showed Mom, and she said, uh-huh. And I called up Uncle, and he came right over, and he said it was 98% perfect, with just tiny brown edge in one place, and one of the 7 best he had seen in his 80 years. I asked if he'd like to eat it, but he said he'd take it home and encase it in a liquid see-through plastic, and we could bury it in the backyard to be found and put in a museum for future generations to marvel at. Mom slammed the porch so hard, I was afraid she broke it. Boy, I have seen the light. I'm working on the perfect bow with my tennis shoelaces now. Uncle Shomi says I'm right smack in the middle of the meaning of life, and I should keep on trying.
Well, that's so nice. I believe you to be the first person who's asked about me since early in 2018. You're just leaving flyers on people's porches. You're also the first person I've talked to, other than kinfolk, since we started hiding in our houses. I noticed your window screen, and I'm going to count it as a personal conversation. I'm a high school junior with what I have to say are low expectations. My mom calls me reticent, and my dad calls me quiet. But to be absolutely candid, I just don't have a personality, which means I don't stand out in a crowd, or really even out of a crowd, to be honest. When I'm in school, I know the answers, so I'm pretty sure I have an IQ, or whatever they call it. I just don't have flavor. People can't figure out how to describe me. Oh, they struggle. See, you can tell I don't have a personality because nobody ever gave me a nickname. Well, one person did call me Zero, but he moved away to Arkansas. I would so enjoy being called Juice or Slippery or Cannibal, but no luck. Without a nickname, you're pretty much doomed to non-personhood and invisibility. Oh, I have worked on it. I made a list of adjectives like peppy and judicious, and I spent a whole day trying to be that. But my mom just sent me to the doctor and put me on a bland diet. I learned some jokes, but I could never remember the last part, which was embarrassing to all concerned. What I really aspire to be is magnetic and have people drawn to me. I moved into bright colors, but this girl came up to me and whispered, "Don't do orange." I'm using my homestay time to figure out what profession would suit me. My dad said accountant, but I can't divide. I'm pretty sure division is pretty important to an accountant, right? Other than that, I'm smart as a whip. Before COVID, I went to a counselor, ran a nice battery of tests on me, and then the lady came out and said, Well, Miss Cortisone, these tests prove conclusively that you have no personality whatsoever, and you are perfect for the CIA. Well, that's what I plan to aim for, but turns out there's still a world. My sister cheered me up because she said I was forceful, and that was a good quality when you're cooped up. I suppose it's an ill wind that blows nobody good. Say, before you go on with your flyers, can I ask you a personal question? Am I visible to the naked eye?
Boy, I tell you, Brianna, I am so glad you live next door. I always thought that our two houses being so close together was like claustrophobic, but now talking window to window is the only thing that keeps me from going bat wild crazy. I mean, you can only talk to a Boston Terrier for so long. But you know what? And I mean, you must not tell anyone this, on pain of death. But I'm kind of getting to like my parents. Don't you dare laugh, Brianna. I'm beginning to think they might be part human. Only part, you know, but it's definitely in there. My father actually made me laugh, and I thought his sense of humor was surgically removed. And my mom, I thought she only knew 4 words, no and clean your room. But yesterday, she asked me opinion. Yeah, an actual opinion. I was so surprised I backed up and fell over a footstool. She wanted to know what I thought were the most important qualities a person could have. I mean, she stood still, made eye contact, and spoke in a human voice. And so I bumbled around, you know, and finally I came out with kindness and appreciation. And she said those are good, and she thought I had them. Can you believe that? And then she said, why don't we sit down and talk for a bit? I mean, I was dumbfounded. I started to laugh, and then I started to cry, and then we sat down and had a conversation. The bombshell is, it turns out she's interesting. So later that day, I tried it out with my dad, and he put down his leaf blower, which I'm pretty sure he carried with him out of the womb. And we sat on the garden bench and talked jobs, you know, professions. And he told me about his grandfather, who was an Olympic fencer, became a banker, and then in the middle of a shift he yelled, "Man is more than a mortgage." He walked out the door and taught fencing to grade school kids until he died at 87 in the middle of a post, whatever that is. I asked my dad if he ever wanted to be something really crazy, and he said that as a young man he had fancied the trapeze, but you couldn't support a family on that. He said he toured the South with a small-time circus whose main attraction was a dead boa constrictor on ice. I don't know, Brianna. It's a hard time, but for the first time, I'm thinking a family might be a good thing, even if you have to live with them.
Well, that's a good question. I guess I'd say what goes down the tubes, being locked down at home, is secrets. It's just really hard to keep a secret in 1,100 square feet. See, you're pretty much under a parental microscope, which is a desperate situation. Plus, it's exasperated by the fact that Dad took the door off my bedroom. It's amazing the impact door removal can have on your life, particularly if your bedroom is right at the top of the stairs. See, one of my main hobbies is to get all the pillows in the house, stack them on my bed, close the old door, and spend quality time reading forbidden magazines. I get from Willis, the semi-deranged college student who rents a room for Mr. Clapper next door. Well, that particular form of enjoyment is definitely off the table now. Now, I'm not saying I'm overloaded with like horrendous secrets or anything like that. What I'm saying is having to stay home 24/7 with my bedroom door gone has interfered with my favorite vices. I will give you the example of Twizzlers. You do know what a Twizzler is, right? Okay, it's an 8-inch long, twisted, rubbery stick of candy that purports to be licorice, while actually being citric acid, palm oil, and potassium sorbate. They are enjoyable, not so much for the taste, which is negligible, but for a gluey consistency, that's fun to chew. I guess I imbibe 6 or 7 dozen blue raspberry licorice twists on a daily basis. Well, that little pleasure is gone with the wind. Now, talking about Twizzlers is actually a way for me to avoid my actual secret, which is there's a zombie in my closet. See, one night, about a month ago, we got this big storm, and around 2 a.m., I heard a noise outside, and looking out there was this poor zombie trying to get into the doghouse for shelter. I mean, it would just break your heart. So, I snuck down, got him, brought him up to my bedroom, and hid him in the closet. Now, this would not be a popular choice with my mom in terms of general cleanliness, and my father is a geneticist, so I shudder to think what experiments he might devise. My idea is to wait for better weather and ship him on a bus to Florida, where I don't think his true identity will be discovered. But as it is, he gets bored in the closet and taps on the door for me to let him out. And I do, every night, around midnight, and we play Call of Duty for a couple of hours. So, what I really want to ask is, would you take him for a month or so? My mom is looking for projects, and she says we should go through my closet.
Love with James Fenimore Boswell and his red walking shorts. One good thing about homestay is that our front windows get to kind of feel like a television. I mean, for one thing, yesterday I counted 17 different breeds of dogs, including a French Bulldog and a Pomeranian. What I want to see is an Alaskan Creekeye, because, come on, who wouldn't want to see that? Anyway, I spend 3 to 4 hours every day looking out that front window to remind myself that the world exists. I mean, if I looked out for that long and nothing went by, I would know to do this up. Then, 3 weeks ago, James Fenimore Boswell came by wearing his red walking shorts and bouncing a basketball, and my heart just split open like a pomegranate. I mean, he walks with his buoyant assurance while retaining a sense of mystery, you know? That's just an unusual combination. But best of all, he walks with a trace of a smile curling at his lips, like he knows there's a double cheeseburger in his future. 2 days ago, I flung open the door and yelled out, "What's your name?" And without breaking stride, he yelled back, "I am James Fenimore Boswell, and don't you forget it." I believe that to have been a declaration of his affection, and that we are now bound together by an invisible bond. He comes by at 11:42, so I have to go. I believe us to be just like Romeo and Juliet, only we don't have a balcony, and you can understand what we say. I will update you later. about 2 weeks after they said people had to stay home, we found out my sister wasn't going to make it. She had something they called Rye's syndrome that causes swelling in the liver and brain. She was no holds barred stubborn about wanting to stay home. She said dying was strange enough without doing it in a strange place with strangers. My mom is an ICU nurse, so home is where she stayed. Her room had pink and white striped wallpaper and a ceiling with stars on it that glowed in the dark. She had every album Taylor Swift ever made, and she constantly kept them playing, and she said Taylor Swift was going to sing her out. We had 2 dachshunds named Lucy in the Sky and Imagine, and those dogs would get up on that bed with her and snuggle right close until she went to sleep at night. She told me not to be sad because she'd had a really good time every day of her life, not including the last 2 weeks. She didn't feel like talking too much, but she wanted us to. She said she was holding on to our voices. She said the words were keeping her with us as long as possible before she left on her journey. So Mom, Dad, me, and Grandma, who stayed with us, just kept the words going and didn't let the silence in. Mom stayed in there with her all night, sitting on a rocking chair Grandpa had made. She had us all write messages to her on her sheets that she could take with her on her travels. We each wrote one every day. I remember on her last Wednesday, I asked her how she was doing, and she said she had finished packing her bags. She said she was sorry for the trouble, but I had to live 2 lives now, because she was leaving hers. When she was gone, the 2 dachshunds howled. So did I, but I did it on the inside, where you couldn't hear it. There was more to silence than you think.
I collect Swedish fish. No, I mean this seriously. This is not a joke. And now that I hardly go out, well, Swedish fish are pretty much my life. Don't laugh at me. I mean, who's to say how we should spend our time? What are you doing, big shot? I'm not just messing with candy here. I'm doing a deep dive. Plus, it's an investment that's going to pay for college. So wipe that grin off your face. That's better. Now, as you know, there are different flavors. Lemon, lime, grape, orange, and hold on to your hats, lingonberry. Didn't know that, huh? Those are the red ones. Lingonberry, which are also called cowberries, are rich in anthocyanins. I have no idea what that is, so let's not get into it. Oh, and Swedish fish are Swedish. Duh. And yeah, they're shaped like fish. I could go into the chemistry and blah, 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 but here's the deal. I send a packet of the fish in all 5 colors and, whoa, hold it. Please tell me everyone else on the planet knows that they're candy, right? Whew. Anyway, I put the fish in all 5 colors along with a request for them to return me a notarized and signed response, a 1-word description of their culinary experience in eating the fish, plus a little personal drawing of said fish. For instance, Vladimir Putin wrote back, "Whoopee," and said that they tasted like colored wax. Dwayne Johnson said, "Yuck," and that they got stuck in his teeth. And when he got them out came his fillings. Greta Thunberg, the climate activist, wrote she would never eat such a thing, but she had them made into earrings. All told, I got 147 responses, and the drawings were so cute that there's going to be a show at the Guggenheim Museum. Plus, I'm putting out a little coffee table book with all the responses for Christmas, which will flat out pay for college. What have you been doing with your time?
Well, what I'd say is there's nothing like staying home for 3 months to help you figure out your family. When I look back, I have to say I just did
My family. I mean, I think maybe I thought they're like furniture you gotta look at you didn't bump into. I mainly because my dad should be like a firework. You gotta be careful not to light up. My mom was just what made it all go. But I don't think I saw her beyond that. My sister, Ellie, was poison ivy. And my older brother, Comet, was a ride to school and a loud noise around the house. I guess you could say I was so self-concerned, I didn't know who anybody was. Well, surprise, surprise, they're human beings. I mean, I started really watching them like I was on a visit to the zoo, and it turns out they're complicated. Who would have guessed? How I started to see them was this rule I made up for myself called the 6 things. It just hit me. I was mainly seeing them as one thing, which boiled them right down to nearly invisible. So I said to myself, Melissa, which is the name for myself, though I'm Susie on my birth certificate. Melissa, what 6 things is Ellie today? Like yesterday, she was scared, bossy, funny, smart, fed up, and clumsy. Shoot, I could have put down 10 things if that was in my rules. The day before, she was 5 entirely different things, but still bossy. Now you're going to think I'm out of my mind, but I don't think any of my film is complicated. What I found out, which has kind of changed my life, is that they're interesting. They're surprising. I mean, some days they're actually worth being around. I forget that woman's name who travels to some country or other and spent most of her life living with apes. You know who I mean. Well, it turns out my family is just as interesting as apes. Seriously, they are. So I wake up every morning, bounce out of my bed, and say to myself, Melissa, let's get downstairs and see what the gorillas are up to. I hate to say this, but I'm enjoying it.
Okay, Mom, listen. No, really. Stay in the chair and hear me out. Yes, I know you have chicken in the oven, but please, please listen, Mom. Okay, I respect you don't like to talk about Dad's death. I don't either, but I don't even know how to get into this. Mom, you know how he was a pack rat, and he had all those boxes of stuff still in the garage? And you don't like to think about that, and I understand that, I do. Oh boy. Anyway, it's really boring staying in the house for like months, and I couldn't help it. I went into the garage and looked through a couple of boxes, just a couple, and one was fishing stuff, lures, and boots, and pliers, and junk. We could definitely get rid of that. Let's see, one was tools, all that stuff we did woodworking with. That one had spiders in that one, ugh. And then the third one, Mom, the third one was diaries. Mom, did you know he wrote diaries? Well, he did. 33 in these like school test books or something. So the first one when he was 12, and the last one year he, So, I mean, should we read them or not? I mean, I loved him, but what's with this, He was, well, you said yourself you could set your clock by his habits. He was a bus driver. How does a bus driver write 33 diaries? I mean, he drove to work, he came home, he ate dinner, and then he watched TV. What's that to write about? And then I got to think how he took those fishing vacations by himself. And who are those people who called him in the middle of the night? And who are those 3 guys at the funeral who fired a pistol into the air as he lowered down and then split? I mean, what do we do now? Do we read them? See what I mean? Should we read them together? I just don't know. What should we do? I put them back when I saw what they were. They scared me. I think I like the dad I knew. I think that's the dad I want to keep. I just get this feeling we should burn them. Tell me what we should do.
Whoa, this home thing, right? It's like a drug, seriously. We have this backyard and it's like the Amazon. I mean, I only know the Amazon from movies, but you get my meaning. The yard is small, but it's like a plant festival. I went outside yesterday and I counted over 300 plants before I got bored. And the light, it's changing on the leaves every half hour. It's like a rock and roll light show, seriously. So I was standing out there completely absorbed, you know? And then, like a train wreck, my brain says to me, there's hundreds of people dying out there in the beyond. I had to shake it off, like when somebody slaps you. And I think, out there, Death is walking around with his scythe and his black robe, and I'm here worried about a plant? What's up with that? I got into this guilt thing about being safe because other people can't be. See what I mean? What's my responsibility here? I'm on the human team, right? What's the teamwork there? So I remember my uncle, who's an export-import guy, came by and gave us this box of masks. Maybe 100 masks, and I open it up and take out a bunch, and I go out into the street. People are walking their dogs, stuff like that, and maybe only one or two are masked up. So I say to people, how about a mask? No charge. And they're nice, you know, they smile and say, no thank you, or I'm fine. Only 3 or 4 people will take a free mask, and in our city, there were 3,000 cases yesterday. So I stand there and I think, what are human beings up to, you know? In the garden, every plant seeks the light. They're doing acrobatics just to get to the light. But out here, they're turning down a mask. In an hour, only 3 people took a mask. Are the plants smarter than people? Do they have a greater will to live? So I go home and lay it out for Mom, and she just shakes her head. I ask Dad, and he says, while the sun is shining, you think you're immortal. It doesn't compute with me. If there's a tiger in the neighborhood, they would stay home, right? Anyway, I'm back out with the plants. They get it. They're growing towards the light.
Wash my hands for 24 hours straight. Well, I mean, that includes the time spent drying them. And, every 3 hours, my sister Clementine steps in and washes one of my hands so I can use the other one to eat M&Ms to keep my energy up. The whole thing is on GoFundMe, if you want to get in on it. I'm hoping to raise $100,000 for healthcare workers. Every 5 hand washes, I do a skin motion wash so I don't get down to the bone. My father calls me a lunatic, but he comes in and pats my back every once in a while. My mother went to bed, turned out the light, and locked the door. There's a crowd out on the front lawn of cheerleaders from the university right now. They're doing a cheer. Wash them up, wash them up, wash them up good. And maybe you can hear them, but see, the thing is, I'm beginning to hallucinate. Right now, Ben Franklin is here whispering helpful things like, he that lies down with dogs rise up and flees. And a right heart exceeds all. He's really irritated, but he won't leave. Before that, it was Richard Nixon saying, it's a piece of cake till you get to the top. His breath smells like a really questionable hot dog. When I look down, my hands look like fish fins, and Kurt Cobain from Nirvana is sitting on the toilet doing riffs from Love Buzz. But I'm not a quitter. My friend Busby holds up a chalkboard so I can see what washing I'm on. Right now, I'm on my 528th wash. But Busby's head no longer has eyes, and interestingly, my hands are no longer attached to my body, which is sitting in a lounge chair on Clearwater Beach in Florida. I have a message to the American public. Wash your hands often, but maybe not this often. Over and out.
is the first base coach for the Washington Nationals. He couldn't cut it as a player, but he loves the game, so he hung around. Now, nobody knows what a first base coach does, right? First of all, you have to be a positive personality. You get a runner on first, you want to make him feel good. Celebrate their accomplishments, so to speak. Give him a pat, give him a smile. Then, you call it foul ball so the players don't waste energy running. Tell them the number of outs. Let them know when to tag up. Tell them when to round first and try for second. A whole lot of different stuff. But mainly, being the first base coach keeps Dad in the game he loves. He's two different guys. At home, he's gentle, he's quiet, and he lets Mom be the boss. At the park, he's in constant motion. Talks a blue streak for 9 innings, lives or dies on a steal. Then comes COVID, right? The game shuts down. He doesn't know who he is. He goes up on the roof and just sits there. He's clearly depressed. His whole body just wants to head for the park. He tries to pretend he's feeling fine, but he's not feeling fine. Not even close. Then, the league decides to open up. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line. Him, the players, everybody. The whole league is going to stay in hotels and play without the fans. Mom is happy for him, you know. She said she'll help him pack. It's like she hands him his life back. And what happens next, I saw. I was right there. He didn't even miss a beat. He smiles this big smile and says, "Not a chance. Go do that and bring the bug back to you? No way. Won't happen. No." He didn't even hesitate a split second. Then he grabs Mom and they dance. Some old-fashioned, I don't know what the name of it is. And right then, watching my Mom and Dad, I figured out what love is. It's two people dancing right in the middle of a real hard world for a lifetime. I didn't get it before. The other day, I was helping my dad organize the garage when I asked him how he decided to stay home. And he said the key thing for a coach was, you gotta know when to hold the runner at first. My dad, he knows the game.
Thank you.